Welcome back to our 1+1 series with the Elm Church. Again, we would love for you to talk about this with your churches. Share with us what you think has been really helpful when it comes to community living with your church as well. Today, we would love to talk about hospitality and community living. Oftentimes, we do feel like this is actually really important as we play community together and as we do that together, right? So I would love to hear your experiences on how hospitality can play into community.
When I first started going to church, I was very, very shy. Just stepping in, I was a Buddhist, stepping into this building that I was unfamiliar with. But I always remember that time that I had joined this concert at my old church, and there was one person who came to sit next to me because they saw that I was alone. I will never forget that feeling. That experience was from when I was 14 years old. So that was 17 years ago. And I still remember how I felt when that person came to sit next to me and just simply said, "Hey, how's it going? I noticed your first time here." I feel like it's such a simple statement, but yet it carried on for almost 2 decades. If we can replicate that, if we can share that feeling of warmth with every person that steps into our home, our church, I feel like we can be really, really healthy in the way that we form our relationships. Right? The reason why we are reaching out and trying our best to be hospitable is because someone has done that for us. And if it's not a person, it's hearing the gospel of knowing how Jesus was sent down to have that relationship with us. He was warm to us. He opened his arms out to us and welcomed us in and embraced us. And if we are so-called Christians and we're following in his steps, are we really, truly doing that with our neighbors, with the people in our neighborhood, with the people who come and visit us that we don't know yet and that we hopefully would want to get to know? If we can do that, then we are really exercising hospitality and sharing that love and warmth with those around us.
So I think that's so important, because I actually remember the same kind of feeling that when I walked into a place that I was not used to, that someone came to me and was just like sat next to me. And then not only that, but they invited me to go to their home after to just have dinner. I think that was such a warm feeling. Then that's what it is. It's a warm feeling. It's a very familial feeling, like someone cared for me. So that, even though it wasn't anything big. It was just standing next to me, invited me, and that was it. But the hospitality of that was just, well, they showed me that they cared. That was so important for me. Yeah.
You don't need a lot to be hospitable. You just need that intention, that willingness to reach out and simply say, "Hi, how's it going?" And hopefully that can lead to something else. You don't need everything prepared. You don't need your home to be, perfectly clean, everything organized. I feel like if we wait for that moment for everything to be fully in order, then we're never going to take that first step.
Yeah, I think that's really cool when you mention you don't have to be, perfected or got together in order to do hospitality, because there's a part of hospitality, I think, within the church especially, is that we acknowledge that we are broken people. And if that's the case, then we are broken people who are doing hospitality. But that doesn't make us any less, because we're broken people redeemed by a great God. And I think that makes the power of the gospel so much more real to us, and hospitality is so much more important. So when we're thinking about hospitality, I think one of the biggest scares is that, hey, I don't think I have enough to give. What can I be hospitable with? And I think the answer is, hey, if we take ownership of our church, if this is my community, then this is my home. We're filming in our home right now. Every person who walks through those doors is going to be welcomed, and I'm going to take part in that. And as a single person, I don't have a home. But I think there's something about walking into someone else's home and kind of taking ownership. I don't know if that's right, but taking ownership and being like, "Hey, I'm just going to serve people." because that's what God has gifted me in this season of life. And I think everything that we think about and do has to be rooted in the present, right? On what has God gifted me with? And then how can I use it now? Not thinking about 10 years in the future, because like you said, we'll never do it then, right? So how does hospitality look right now for me? I think that's important.
That's really good. I mean, hospitality is so essential to building community, and that's why we have to break it from this idea that I need enough to do hospitality. You really don't need to have stuff or a place to do hospitality. Hospitality at its heart is to say, I'm inviting you into my life, not into my home, but into my life, right? So that this, and I will be a place for you to be safe, and this will be a relationship that, like, you know, takes that meets you where you are to care for you. And I think about, even in my own life, probably one of the greatest examples of hospitality was someone who drove an hour out of his way to meet with me just by the water and like hear how I was going, like how my life was. And I felt like he went out of his way to welcome me into his life. And I felt welcomed into community, you know, and that was like such an important deal. And it wasn't in his home. It wasn't in my home. It wasn't in anyone's home. We were outside. You can be hospitable outside in a public space as long as you're inviting that person to be cherished and known and welcomed, you know, and like that's really important. Yeah.
I think that act of invitation that you talked about, so key. You know, when we talk about inviting people to our community, it has to be with us face to face with that person, being like, we want to see you there. And there's something so much different than just the email blast saying, come visit us or join us, or just looking at our social media, although those are amazing platforms. But to sit with someone or even look them in the face and say, I want to be with you. I want you to be with me. I think that's so powerful, right? Because God looks at us and being like, I want you. I want you to be with me forever. That's the God we serve. And then we extend that same hospitality to these people, to everyone in our community. And I think that's just the beautiful thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that point too. It's so like Christ central. It centers Christ in our lives, in our community, because I think when we think of community as a means to our own ends, we could be totally satisfied with the people that we have. Yeah. You know, like we have people that we jibe with. We're like, you know, happy with it, and we're just like, okay, well, why do we need more people? But when we put Christ at the center, we realize that this is not a community for ourselves, but it's for our Lord. A church community, when it is healthy, it is living for the Lord. And the Lord has called us to be a community unto others. And that's why hospitality plays such a big factor, because we're constantly living with this belief that not everyone who is supposed to be here is here, right? That there are others out there that we have to be welcoming in, that Christ has called us to go and invite them into community. And when that's our mindset, hospitality plays an essential role in that. Because you're saying, I need to go out, I need to invite, I need to be creating a space where they're going to be welcomed in, seen, known, cherished, encouraged, supported to thrive. Like, that's so important. And without it, we just wouldn't be living for Jesus.
You guys know the term comfort food? I always hear that around in conversation, but I never know what makes something a comfort food. So yesterday while I was eating with my spouse, I was like, is it? I think this is considered comfort food, but I don't really know what that means. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, and the definition that it gives is food that gives you a sentimental feeling, that brings you back to a memory of when your family took care of you. And, I was thinking as you guys were sharing, hospitality is a major. Like in college, you pay thousands of dollars to learn how to be hospitable. Like there's a whole industry just for this. And, I think it's there for a good reason. People are trying to profit off of that feeling, that sentimental feeling. When we're talking about hospitality, what does it really consist of? It's giving something up so that someone can feel at home. You're giving up your time, like that story that you shared with a friend that drove an hour away. He's giving up his time, his sleep. I don't know if he has a family. He's giving up a portion of him to be with you. Whether he said much or just stood there and listened to you, he gave that up to make you feel at home. And that wasn't a structure. Yeah. When you said that, you're living in a place now where you don't feel so free to invite lots of people over, Arthur. Like, this is your home. You're giving something up. When they come in, you offer them drinks. You're like the first person I see that is offering something to the people who walk in, and to the first one to come and greet most of the time. And you're giving up that comfort when you're just sitting down and doing your work and you stood up. And even a small act of kindness like that, you're giving it up. You're sacrificing so that someone can feel just even an ounce of that hominess.
Think about hospitality versus entertainment. And we really need to also like clarify what that means, right? Like, because I'm in entertainment a lot when it comes to like running the businesses, and I have to do that. But what's different is that entertainment is like the social media. It is a one-way thing, right? It's a one-way relationship. It's me making you feel a certain way, right? Concerts, me making you feel happy. Whereas hospitality produces a two-way relationship, right? If I go into a restaurant that I love going back to, the reason why I want to go back there is because they know my name and I know theirs. They talk about my family. They ask me about my friends. Then they talk to them. And then there's this continuous thing that happens. And that's why we go back to certain restaurants sometimes. I think the same thing with our lifestyles. Like, hospitality also doesn't mean that you need a home, right? This word means loving strangers. I think we need to debunk that hospitality means you need a home. We live in Elmhurst. Like, there's no big homes here, right? So living as a Christian in Elmhurst, you don't have that luxury. What do we have though is our neighborhood is our home. Treat your neighborhoods like your home. So take them to the Starbucks. Like when we do ministry with you, Sandy, at the park, I love it that we welcome strangers and then we walk them out of the park as if it's our home. Like when you're at my apartment, actually, guys, like all three of you actually walk out people to my door and you say bye. A lot of people at their homes, they just sit where they are. They just go, oh, bye. And then, they walk out. But at my apartment, what I've noticed is that when you guys are doing hospitality with me, and this is my home, you are walking my friends out of the door. That makes me feel so good as a host. Now, can you imagine our guests who everyone is like, oh, let's walk them out to the door as they're putting on their shoes and saying bye, like same thing at the park. Treat the park like your home, because hospitality does not mean home. So how do you make the park feel like a two-way relationship, hospitality versus entertainment? Because if it was just entertainment, it would have been come and get your drinks, sign up for something, and then we never talk to you again. But hospitality at the park would be, I'm going to talk with you, get to know your family, and invite you to a dinner next time. And then I'm going to walk you out to the gate of the park and say bye, hopefully we'll see you again. Very different, right? Inviting a friend to Starbucks and having like a drink there, yeah, walk them out. Treat it like it's your home. It's not a big deal, guys. Like, I think there's another thing is that hospitality oftentimes is thought of as something only women do. Like, to be honest, this is just how I've seen it. Women are the ones who are very hospitable. They invite, they cook, all these things, right? I really want to encourage men to step it up, right? You have a home too. And you have Starbucks. You have a park to go to. Invite other people into your lives. Produce that two-way street, right? Hospitality is a two-way thing. And I said this 1 + 1 here is so interesting to me because without the plus or the and, which is to me here, hospitality, these two people will never jibe. Like there's nothing holding them together. But if let's say someone loved a stranger, hospitality, loving strangers, like then these two will come together and then it'll multiply. And it's part of our church core values here is to multiply. How do you multiply without loving strangers? How do you multiply without men stepping up and being hospitable, whether in their homes or in their local delis or local coffee shops? Like how do you do that without being hospitable? This 1 + 1 has to have this plus. What is this? It's going to bring us together. Definitely hospitality is a huge thing here for us. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment. Again, we're all learning this as we're going. That's why we're inviting you into this conversation. We're not professionals at this. we've only seen this through experience in ministry, and that's why we're inviting you into this with us. Please comment. Let us know what your thoughts are when it comes to hospitality and the community at your churches and what you've seen. Again, would love for you to just like, comment, whatever it is that you see. YouTube, on our website, check us out. And of course, tune in on the next one. It's going to be on generosity and how that plays into the community. See you later.